I will not delve into, you know, this one kind of verbal, non-verbal, and, you know, message and receiver and all those topics that you are familiar or already familiar with. Well, let me first introduce myself. My name is Dr. Hala, and I'm giving this as a part of training. Okay, so who would like to read the introduction?
Not me.
Okay, so the introduction, in fact, is speaking about the digital means of social media, bringing people together, but at the same time disposing them in real situations. So we are slowly moving into a kind of virtual reality. On the WhatsApp, on everything, on Instagram, we are pretty well. But when we come to the workplace, for example, to society, to family, to communicating with our children, we have some problems with real communication, right? So we have to delve deeper into this problem. It is not the social media, but it is the old traditional types of communication that usually blame the other for not receiving our message, right? So if we want to talk about words, and what is the value of the words that we are trying to communicate with others? We can say that words value is only 7%, but how you say it will count for 38, and the non-verbal, the eye contact, the posture, the gesture, the facial expression will count for 55. So far, so good, and all of these are common sense, right? Okay, now, let's talk about self-enlightenment legacy. Now, in communication, I thought I had a pen, I would draw something for you. You and the receiver, right? And there are circles around you, or layers of communication. The first layer will be your family, and then society, and then the layer of work, and then the universal layer, okay? Now, to make a good communication, to communicate with impact, you have first to delve into yourself and see what is the problem with you, if you have any. Now, what is self-enlightenment legacy? We aim at self-awareness. So, self-awareness is the ability to accurately recognize one's own emotion, thoughts, and how these influence behavior. So, the most important word here is your behavior and your emotion. And then we have relationship skills, the ability to establish and maintain healthy, rewarding relationship with diverse individuals and groups. So here we are talking about relationship, and also it is related to you and to your behavior and emotion. Self-management, the ability to successfully regulate one's emotion. How far are you able to compose yourself and control your emotion and behavior? And responsible decision-making, the ability to make constructive choices about personal behavior and social interaction based on ethical standards, safety concerns, and social norms. So here we are linking the behavior to ethical value that you have at the core of your personality. Social awareness, the ability to take the perspective of empathize with others, including those from diverse backgrounds and culture, the ability of intercultural communication. Now, the iceberg theory about personality is very important. Why? Because whenever you meet a person, you are just looking at 10% of his personality, real personality. It is the conscious mind. So here, the man has the willpower to show you what you want to look at, right? But what is beneath is the subconscious mind, constitutes by beliefs, creativity, development stages, emotion, habits, imagination, intuition, long-term memory, proactive reaction, values, and all of these were constructed since each one of us has been a little child. Okay? So, again, So we can say that the iceberg, or the cultural iceberg, we have the behavior, the practices, which is visible on the surface, but what is hidden? We have the attitude and we have the core values of each person of us. Now, these core values are, of course, not observable. We can't, unless we delve deep into a kind of psychological analysis of the person in front of you. And it is related to religion, history, the media, educational system, family, and economy, right? So just keep in mind that whenever you meet a person, there is the iceberg theory. And also when you just think about yourself, you have also something on the top, something you are conscious of, and something, or so many things you are unconscious of. Now, so to have a very, very good or effective communication, before you utter a word, before you try to construct the message, the communication message in your brain, you have to ask yourself these questions. First, before you, I use my judgment to decide if my words need filtering. What is my intention? Am I going to hurt the person in front of me? And then choice. Is this something that needs to be said, or it's better not? And then I have compassion. Is it okay if I say this word? Will it hurt the person in front of me? And then I have empathy. Can I try to see what happened through the other person's point of view? And this is extremely important, because if you have this kind of empathy, you will be able to communicate better, because you will understand the person in front of you. And then I have to ask, did I listen properly before I answer? And then, are my words respectful? Imagine that each one of us try to just reconsider all these things before he utter a word. I think we will live in
heaven.
Heaven, yeah, or in paradise. Okay. Well, there is a person, his name is Alan Watkins. This person is, basically he is a physician, and he studied neuroscience. And now also he came with the integrated performance model. Now this is very important because he links your behavior to thinking, feeling, emotion, and physiology. So he says, for example, at job interviews, why most people fail. Because first they sit, maybe they will face an interviewer who is strict, or he's trying to tease you or whatever. What will happen? He will think that, oh, I am going to fail. I will not pass this interview. And then this thinking will create a feeling of fear. And the fear will put you in a state of stress. And then after that, the physiology, your body will start, just to give you some respiration. And your cheek will become red. And then, vice versa, you will be unable to answer the questions of the interviewer or utter a word. And this is most witnessed also with the students and teenagers during exam, like phobia. So here, of course, how can you control your physiology? Of course, there are so many steps like controlling your breathing, doing some practices, meditation, just to control your body at times of need. Well, I'm just going through the points so quickly because I don't want you to miss any of these slides. So there are 8 lines of development on which you have to work on yourself to reach that maturity. Now, first, energy. Of course, we need the energy. But what kind of energy do we need? Negative energy or positive energy? And then we have to have ego maturity. What is fun about Alan Watkins? He said that all of us have stopped at the age of 17 or at the age of 14. So inside each of one of us, there is a child who hasn't grown up yet. And that's why we fail at many situations to communicate, because we consider ourselves victims. We consider ourselves children. And we, just expect the other to take care of us. So here, ego maturity, value systems, of course, you should have a philosophy of the word and why you are living in this life. And then cognitive capabilities, of course, you can develop your cognitive abilities by reading, by being introduced to the latest concepts. And emotional intelligence, your ability, of course, to have compassion for others, to have empathy, and not to think only of yourself, not to see only yourself in the mirror. Behavior, impact, and network, to socialize with others. Because strangely enough, whatever knowledge you have, you will feel at a certain time that you will need to learn more, right? Okay, now, of course, why do you need to do this? You have to do upgrading of your leadership operating system. Leadership, it doesn't mean you have to be the boss or you have to be a leader, but each one of you is a leader in a sense in your community, whether in your family you are a leader, in your society you can be a leader, and at work you are a leader. So you have to upgrade your leadership operating system, develop increased mental complexity and innovation capabilities, especially if you are at an early age in your work, because nowadays they need you to be innovative. And then improve emotional intelligence, which is very important, ability to resolve conflict constructively. What do you think of conflict? Many people ignore the fact that there is conflict in our life, but to tell the truth, there is. There is conflict of interest, conflict of personalities and characters, conflict of cultures, of beliefs and values, so we can't ignore it, but we have to identify and try to solve this. Now, also improve how you think and interpret situations. And finally, make you much more effective in your decision making. Now, OD framework, this is very important and we are doing it for many organizations. It is a kind of organizational development study. It takes sometimes 3 to 6 months, but you can do it on yourself, because I can say that life is business. And the organization is not the place of your work only. It is your society, it is your family life, and you have first to do what? Make assessment of how is the situation in that place. And then identify, you need internal consulting. Sometimes you have to do consulting, and then you have to generate a plan for coaching, facilitating, and everything. So sometimes we provide this for organization, and you can do it for your own life. Now, we come to the most important thing of our coaching, which is the oxytocin release. Now, to have effective communication, they found, of course, this is done at organizational level, speaking about leadership and organizational practices. So they say to be successful in your organization or in your life, you have to have oxytocin release, and through prevailing trust in your performance, innovation, well-being, retention, and engagement. How can we do this, and what does oxytocin refer to? Let's have a look. Now, oxytocin, the O refers to ovation, expectation, yield, transfer, openness, caring, invest, and natural. And this theory has been tested in so many organizations and proved to be very successful in raising the rate of performance and creating a very healthy atmosphere of communication. Let's start with ovation. Ovation is recognize excellent. It is, just spreading a happy atmosphere in the workplace or even at your family. Don't forget that. Through what? Through making some unexpected, tangible, and public surprises for the people you love. Expectation, of course. Identify concrete goals, induce challenge, and reduce stress. So you have to share your vision and your dreams and goals with the members of your family. And even at your workplace, you have to share the vision of your organization. Yield. Sometimes you don't have to take control of everything, right? Because this makes you a type of dominant person. You have to give responsibilities for other people in your team. You have to be a team leader, not a dictator, whether in your family life again, or in your society, or in your workplace. Transfer. You have to, of course, transfer explains 54 of organizational trust. So transfer increases energy and health. Enable self-management. You have to give your employees, if you are a boss, or your students, if you are a teacher, or your members of family, if you are married, or you have to give them a sense of control and a space for choice. Why? Because you will engage them more. And then openness. You have to communicate. You have to be open, straightforward. You don't have to delve deep and hide inside yourself. Caring, as we said, caring is part of your emotional intelligence, and it determines how people can communicate and respond to you effectively. And invest in the growth of the people around you, and even in the growth of yourself. Why? Because when you grow and the others around you grow, you will go together. You don't leave them behind. And natural, try to be natural. If you are a leader, or if you are a teacher, or if you are a parent, try to ask for your help. For help from your children sometimes, from your students, from your colleagues, because this will make you normal, natural to others. Not I am the perfect, I am the superwoman. Because this will give you more responsibility and you will feel tired and exhausted. So, to summarize, we have a theory of O-factor trust model scales that explain the oxytocin. By the way, oxytocin is a kind of hormone that is released in the body, and it makes people happy and positive. So they say that if you have these kind of trust and openness, you will be able to release these oxytocin. So the O factor, usually we have a model and scales, and we have to measure it at organizations and families. Now, first, ovation, of course, what is it? Who would like to just have a clue? Yes? Of course, ovation, it is recognizing others, showing to others that you appreciate their work, even for your students, spreading joy and happiness. And then we have expectation. The more you raise your expectations and help others meet your expectations, you will be able to communicate effectively. Yield, give some responsibilities and a sense of choice to others. Transfer, also transfer not only your positive attitude and energy to others, but transfer them also the freedom of choice. Openness, try to be straightforward. And then caring, try to develop your emotional intelligence. Invest in others and in yourself. And finally, try to be natural, try to be part of this universe, though nowadays they say that we are living in virtual reality, because your reality is the reality that you make and you perceive and you convince yourself you are living in. Thank you so much. So, do you have any questions?
No, mine will have some similarities. So, yeah, I totally understand what you mean by what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, what do you think? Do you think that this kind of perspective of communication is different from what we were used to handle?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is all about, understanding someone and seeing that there's more than just what they say. There's a lot of background that we don't often think about.
That's it.
We need to think about how was their day, what were they doing before this, what stresses in their life, and why are they acting this way?
Yeah. So finding excuses for others. Very good. What do you think?
Yeah, I like the iceberg analogy.
Yeah.
Because like most of what you see is actually not on the surface.
Yeah, exactly. And what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with her.
Yeah.
I even show the same picture on my profile on Facebook, because sometimes people think that success is easy, and when they only see the success you have achieved, but they don't see how many challenges you have come across to reach that stage.
Yeah.
So I totally agree about the surface and what is beneath.
Yeah.
And people need to understand.
Yeah, because this will help people become, more interactive with each other, right? Because you have to accept the other and you have to admit that the other is different from you. We are not all alike. We are different, and we have to admit this and accept it.
Yeah.
Would you like to comment?
No, thank you. I came towards the end.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.